Hey there, this is Wayne with Tri-County Locksmith Service, and today this is the ultimate guide to drill bits. I've been looking for drill bits online, I've been looking for good bits, and it's taken almost a year to get to the point where I'm at now, to where I found what drill bits work for what application and why. Because there's so much information online that it's really hard to sift through all of it. Like I said, it's taken me about a year to do so, to find out what drill bit is actually going to do what for what application and how well it's going to work. Everybody's got some kind of different drill bit. DeWalt's got them, Milwaukee's got them. There's a whole big long list at the big box store of drill bits, and some of them are junk, some of them are okay. But really, if you want a good quality bit, you're going to be ordering something from an industrial warehouse that specializes in drill bits, and they'll be the ones that offer you the most information. That's how I got to where I'm at now. Couple of notes for this video. I went online and saw a lot of blogs and a lot of different people and a lot of machinists. I figure machinists work with metal all the time. They should know what the best steel is and what the best drill bits are. And every single one of them says that HSS, high-speed steel, is the best drill bit there is. You don't need all this titanium coating, it just wears off. You don't need all the cobalt and everything else. Well, it turns out that I found this web page here, this Cutting Tools Inc., and M1 is considered an HSS, M2 is considered an HSS, M7, M50, and M35. Then you have your cobalt steels up here, and even your cobalt, your super cobalts, are still considered an HSS. They're just different forms and different chemical combinations on what does what. So some are a little bit harder, they're meant for drill presses, and some are a little bit more flexible, but they're not quite as hard, so they're not going to cut as well for as long. But the basic term HSS is such a broad term, nobody has broke it down scientifically to actually figure out what all that means. And that's what I've done here. In order to cut metal or understand any of the different metal cutting aspects, you have to understand the Rockwell Hardness scale. One of the biggest things that I want to say about this video is the HRC numbers on here are just estimates. They're just numbers that I got offline. They were the most reliable numbers that I kept seeing pop up over and over again under the different types of materials. So please don't leave any comments about, well, it's 1 point this way or 1 point that way. That's not the point. Just the different type of steel you have can vary quite tremendously. So what are you going to be cutting? You've got mild steel, regular steel. There's a ton of videos out there that are going to drill a grade 8 bolt, and grade 8 bolts are hardened bolts. They're supposed to be really, really great. At a HRC rating of 33 to 39, that's not really that impressive at all. High grade tool steel, wrenches, hammers, stuff like that, you're going to be up in the 54 to 58 range. That's going to be where this video is really concentrating on. When we get up a common leaf spring steel or spring steel, you're going to be up there in the 58 to 62 range. Chisels are super hard steel. That's one of the best steels you can buy. As far as tool steel, you're going to be in the 58 to 62 range. Stainless steel is super hard as well. That gets into the 58 to 62 range. Hard plate. A hard plate is an anti-drill plate. Its sole purpose is to stop drill bits. That's one of the things that we're going to be covering today. That can be anywhere. The industry minimum, and the industry, meaning the security industry, has a minimum HRC rating of 60 for all security applications. So it has to be at least 60. So that's one of the numbers that we can at least have some sort of definition. That's going to be the bare minimum. And then it'll go up to there. I've found some research, and some of it goes all the way up to 72. They add carbide flakes and chips and other things into it to increase that hardness. Here's some of the Rockwell Hardness scales for HSS. Your tool steels, like we went over there, for drill bits, a drill bit hardness is going to be 63 to 65. And then Cobalt drill bits are the new big thing. They're actually getting really, really popular. A lot of discussion online is, do I go HSS or do I go Cobalt? Well, if you go by this right here, it says that their Cobalt bits is still considered a super HSS bit. So it's really, really confusing. M3 HSS 5% Cobalt was what I got off of this website right here. They're saying that's going to be a 65 to 67, and the M42 Super Cobalt is going to be right around that same range. So that's a whole lot of information to take in. Basically, I break it down scientifically, and then it's a simple fact of scientific numbers. If you got a drill bit that's a good percentage harder than what you're trying to drill, you can drill it. If it's not, it's going to fail. The other thing is it's sharp, because you can get carbide bits like this one here, but it's not sharp. It's a masonry bit. I've got diamond plated drill bits that we're going to use today. Solid carbide bits that we're going to use today. This is a more rigid carbide tipped bit that we're going to use today. I got the DeWalt Cobalt bits right here. These are Cobalt bits. That's going to cover that. And then these are supposed to be the best HSS bits you can buy. This is a $300 set of drill bits right here. This is as good as it's going to get for HSS. So we're going to put them all to the test. I'm going to put them all in the drill press. We're going to start drilling stuff. We're going to drill hard stuff, soft stuff, and we're going to see where everything lines up on the field. All right, right here we've got our high quality HSS bits. Is a $300 set of bits. They're very high quality. I've been using them for a while. These are really good bits, but this is going to show us where the limitations of a good quality high-speed steel is going to have. So right here we've got just a regular old piece of mild steel. We'll put a little cutting paste on here because we want to keep everything nice and lubricated and give everything a fair chance. So that's going to drill through that pretty much just fine. Okay, we'll move on to something a little more difficult, like this grade 8 bolt right here. This grade 8 bolt, get a little bit of paste. That quite nicely as well. But once again, when we look at the hard scale, the grade 8 bolt, at 33 to 39, that's not that great. Normal steel, you're going to be looking at anywhere from 20 to 36. So this really isn't that impressive in any of the other videos that you see out there. This isn't that impressive of a feat. You can tell it's definitely going to cut all the way through this thing. But for shortness of video, let's move on to the next subject matter, where we start getting into something a lot more solid and heavy duty here. This is a punch. Okay, this is a American-made punch, so it's very, very high quality steel. So let's see here. Vice grips to grip that. Go ahead and paste. We're going to start to see the limitations of this drill bit. Get in a little bit, and now that's it. It's only come in just a little bit, and now I'm really pushing on this. See it flexing, and that is all the more that it's going to cut. It just cut a little bit, and then that's it. So it's not drill press, it's simply the steel involved here. Then put a little paste on there and see if that's going to cut that again. No, it's just not going to do it. We found the limitation here with tool steel at approximately a HRC rating of 54 to 58. We got a couple other things. We got some spring steel. There's a leaf spring. These down here. We're still getting some cutting on here. Even though this is a harder steel, we're going to see where it's going to stop. Quite a ways, but it did finally find a spot where it was done, and it's just going to stop. That's spring steel. Here again, we got this is hard steel plate. Try that. This is specifically designed not to have anything penetrated as far as a standard drill bit. I mean, this one isn't even giving it a chance. It's not even. We didn't even get any filings off of this one. That's how hard this stuff is. It didn't even make, like if I scratch that didn't even make an indent hardly on there. So this stuff's super, super hard. A couple other things. Got a chisel, definitely super hard. Got a drill bit. Spade bit, not quite as hard. It's going to cut on it just a little bit. But again, it's going to stop too. Push a little harder. Add a little bit of cutting paste on there. But you're just not going to get. It's not going to be that effective. So that is a standard HSS bit, or actually a really high quality HSS bit. That's going to show you the limitations and the different kinds of steel, the tool steel, where it's going to stop and fail. Alright, these are the DeWalt Cobalt bits right here. You know, Irwin has Cobalt bits, DeWalt has Cobalt bits, the high-end industries have Cobalt bits. You know, there's going to be a little bit of fluctuation, but the basic idea is they're adding Cobalt to high-speed steel and making a Cobalt or a Super HSS. Is what my understanding is. They're not a coated bit, because we all know that the titanium coated or zinc coated, those coatings wear off, and then it's just a junk drill bit, and that happens fairly quickly. These drill bits are all solid. You know, they're a solid, made out of material. That's what makes them at the top end of their game. So we're going to try this one out and see where the limitations are on it. Go ahead and start again right here. Mild steel. Very nice. It's very nice and smooth, no squeaking. Very easy. Very nice and easy to cut right through that. Okay, so we'll move on to something a little bit harder. Move on to this tool steel. This punch. And this punch is a great example of different hardnesses of steel, because this punch has to be harder than the steel that you're punching in order for it to make an indent on it. So that's how we know this is a good hard steel, it's a good test. Okay, we're starting to get some filings. We're picking up in the same spot where we left off with the HSS. We're starting to get some filings. So it is trying to drill it. wrench and jiggle all we want, but this bit is done cutting on this particular type of material. You bring out the spring steel. Spirals. A little bit of squeakage, so got some paste on there. Great, okay? So that's a difference right there between the Cobalt and the HSS. The HSS stopped right here. Cobalt did go ahead and do the spring steel. A couple of other metals that we can try. Grade 8 bolt. Cutting paste and grease, oil, some sort of cutting fluid to make sure your bit stays cool. So the cutting process is definitely a very good practice to have. Okay, so we're going to go right through grade 8 bolt 2. Now try the hard plate. Once again, this anti-drill plate holds true. There is a little bit bigger indentation now than there was with the HSS, the just plain HSS bit. I could feel that one with my finger there, fingernail. So they're definitely a tiny little bit harder. However, they're not that much harder. They're not hard enough for chisel steel else, but they are definitely a little bit harder. Here's this bit right here too, and see where that's where the other HSS bit stopped drilling. This one actually did continue to get some filings from it, so you can definitely tell that it is slightly harder. However, just down a little bit more, and it's getting harder inside this particular metal, and it's done cutting. What we've got here is a diamond coated drill bit. This basically has little particles of diamond on it, and it's on a regular twist style drill bit. You know, I figured, hey, it's diamond, it's the hardest thing on the planet. It's got to work really good. But no, this is kind of the joke of the day. This drill bit doesn't drill anything very well. Made for steel. Get a little drill through regular steel. there, you're just not going to see any performance out of it. It doesn't take long to wear the diamond edgings off the top or the tip, and after that is gone, this bit is not going to work very well for anything. So you can see we're really pushing on it, and no such luck. Again, the hard plate. A little bit of action. Okay, now we've gone through HSS and the Cobalt infused HSS bits, or the Cobalt bits, whatever you want to call them, and now we're moving on to something that's definitely harder. Okay, this here is a carbide tipped masonry bit. Okay, the tip, as you can tell, is just a wedge of carbide. Now, it's very blunt. Okay. So if you can get this bit started, it will drill harder steels. However, it's going to have a tendency to walk and wobble until it gets a bite into it. So I just want to demonstrate where the other drill bit stopped. A carbide bit like this can go ahead and definitely keep drilling in some applications, but it's not going to be ideal. It's like drilling with a blunt object. It's like trying to shovel with a blunt shovel. It doesn't work that well. So here's some mild steel. You can see how the bit just walks around and walks around on it until it gets a bite in, and then it will finally begin to drill. But it's a very slow process. It's chipping this steel, so it's getting very hot, but it will do it. So this drill bit isn't that great for these drilling applications. It has the ability to do it, but it's not ideal because of the bluntness of it. Wobble around on this. It's not climbing very. See? Watch it dance right off there. So that's not a very good application for this. We can flip it over and start in the drill bit hole where we started the other one, and it'll go. Getting filing. So that means it is harder on the scientific scale. That little piece of carbide is definitely harder than everything else. And it is doing the job. It's just doing it very slowly. is going to take forever to drill through with this drill bit. But it is actually moving a small amount of material at a time. And it's the only one that's managed to do so whatsoever so far. This is the only bit that's managed to even touch this hard plate steel. It's guaranteed to be at least a 60 on the HRC. But you've got a moment to do so. So that's what a carbide bit can do, a carbide tip bit can do for you in these particular situations. However, it is a bit like running a blunt object into the ground. Okay, now we have this carbide tipped locksmith style bit right here, and what this has is it has this tip in here, but it's a very high grade steel going into it, and it's a lot more rigid than like say a masonry bit. This is going to be the difference between the two. A locksmith bit like this has the hardness and can take the heat down here, but it also does well on pretty much every application. We've got a mild steel here. Should reduce the jumping or the wandering effect that the other equipment has. So once we get that going in, this is a fairly decent job. Let's take that a little bit. Cutting through this material. Settings. The difference between this and the masonry style bit is the rigidity. It's just a lot more stable bit to be able to find a spot and get that first little gouge into it. Whereas the masonry bit did a lot of wandering. Very, very blunt edge. This has a lot sharper edge to it. Carbide takes heat very, very well. So difference between this and all the other ones is the entire bit is made out of carbide. And then if you can see right here, you can see that the edge is actually ground down to a bevel. Okay, now what that's going to mean is there's going to be a sharp edge, whereas opposed to the other, you know, like a masonry bit, this is actually going to be sharpened. A masonry bit is going to be very blunt, and it's going to tend to walk really badly on steel and not want to go down and have its own center punch. These should center by themselves and drill. It's just a matter of if the edge is going to hold on it very long or not. So we'll pop that in there. Go ahead and grab some hard plate here. This is guaranteed at least 60 on the hard scale. Clamp this down. Anti-drill plate is designed specifically just to stop drill bits. So the fact that we're getting these nice big shavings and cuttings off of there is quite impressive, really. Just want to make sure to really keep this thing lubricated at all times. Go right through that. So that's pretty impressive right there. That's at least a 60 on the hardness scale, Rockwell Hardness scale. I'm going to go ahead and clamp this one down. that's about the hardest stuff that I can really find. I mean, we've done spring steel, we've done stainless steel, we've done chisel steel. All that stuff is going to be in those higher brackets. And there's not much anything else out there that's hard enough to even warrant trying to drill through. So these bits are really good. They're from Drill Bit Warehouse, and it seems as though that they need a special job. They need to be in a drill press, or they need to have a very, very steady hand and constant pressure, very consistent pressure if you're using a hand drill. I would recommend the larger size bits. I think when you get down to the smaller size, the littler sizes, I can imagine these breaking quite easily and not being that effective. So that's the drill bit test. For more information, go to www.TriCountyLocksmithService.com. Okay, so the purpose of this demonstration is to show you just how superior a carbide bit is to a HSS bit. This is an HSS bit that we've got here. We just made a little flat edge so that it can have a chance to get started on there. And carbide should go right through. Fairly quality bit, but that's the difference between high-speed steel and steel. There's no high-speed steel drill bit on the planet that's going to be able to compete with this. It's a simple physics, like I was just trying to explain on this piece of paper right here. It's a Rockwell Hardness scale. If you have something that's harder than something else by a certain amount of percentage points, it's going to drill through it. And where HSS stops is right around the 50, right around the 54, 58 hardness scale, and that's going to be your tool steels and starting to get into your spring steels. There's going to be some variance on there. Somebody may be able to drill through a leaf spring. I've had it happen. You could drill through one leaf spring, and then the next leaf spring in the same pack won't touch it. You need something like carbide like this. But this is just a great drill bit that has carbide, and it's actually sharp, so it actually has a chance to get a cut. It's not just trying to ram a blunt object through something, and that's a perfect example of it right there. Okay, to really show you what we've got going on here, this is the Cobalt bits. Okay, these are the black ones, Cobalt bit that did fairly well in the testing. But right now, this is just back to the science of it. Whereas one material that's way harder than the others is going to prevail, and this is how we show that. Carbide bit actually going to drill through this other drill bit right here. So we're starting to get pretty warm. We need to make sure we keep lubrication in there. And probably around 63 to 65. I'm sure the really good drill bits that you buy from the supply store have a much higher, like the 65, 67 HRC. But this is the difference between Carbide and a regular drill bit, or even a Cobalt drill bit. It just doesn't stand a chance. The Carbide is so much harder than it that it just doesn't have a chance to be able to stand up with it. If you're going to say that another drill bit, that Cobalt's going to work that good, I mean, this drills right through it. And it did it in fairly quick fashion, 2 squirts of lubricant, and it's right through it. So these sharpened Carbide bits are really the way to go. There's just no excuse. They work better as long as you keep it in a controlled environment, keep the pressure even, keep them lubricated, and don't get any side force on them. They really perform really well, and they're really going to cut through some of the stuff that nothing else is going to even come close to. So to kind of conclude our drill bit evaluation here, we started out with a very high quality HSS bit right here, and you know, this is a good quality bit that does most things well. As soon as we start moving up in the scale of things here to the harder stuff, as soon as we start getting in that 50, 54, 58 range, it's just going to stop working there. The Cobalt bit that we saw here is going to work pretty well on a lot of things. It's going to get you a little bit higher. It seemed to do a little more damage to the spring steel and the stainless steel knife. However, it still has its limitations. As soon as it starts to get down into that hardness of the steel, it loses all of its force and all of its penetration. And then, you know, the ultimate is the carbide, solid carbide with a sharp edge is the key thing. I mean, that's your Cobalt bit right there. There's no argument which one's harder and which one's sharper. You know, and then we had the Bosch bit that has carbide. Okay, so it's going to have a little more rigidity to it, but it's going to tend to walk and wander a lot on you. If you can get it started, or you can get a little bit of a whole ground with something else first, these little bits are great, and they're going to be a lot more forgiving in a hand drill, because that blunt edge is going to be a lot more forgiving, but it's going to take a lot of force and a lot of effort to get this to drill through that harder steel. But it is going to be more flexible and forgiving that way. But for the controlled environment, if you're in a drill press or a very steady hand drill, the sharpened Carbide bits do work really well. The edges just chip out on them, and that will happen. It's just part of the game. The sharper and the finer you get, the more it's going to cause that to happen. So I wouldn't recommend using anything smaller than this, like 3/8 right here with these. At least that gives it enough meat to try and stand up. We used a 1/4 inch here to drill through this Cobalt, but you know, it is what it is. It made it through there. How long that's going to last and how many times you can do that is yet to be seen. So this is Wayne with Tri-County Locksmith Service. You can get your Cobalt bits at any Home Depot or Lowe's. You can get your really good grade HSS bits through any welding supply store. You can get your Bosch bits through any big box store, Lowe's, Home Depot, and you can get your solid carbide bits from drillbitwarehouse.com. That's where I got these at. You can put a promo code in, put Lockman1 into your order as a promo code, and you'll get a discount off your order. So this is Wayne with Tri-County Locksmith Service, and that's the full drill bit evaluation. There's nothing else to really cover. We've gone from one end of the spectrum to the other. The only thing that we've really left out was the cheapo bits, like the Black & Decker bits, that don't even belong in this category anyway. So thank you for watching. Click the subscribe button. I always like to do reviews, tool reviews, drill bit reviews. I do reviews on just about everything, especially when it takes me this long to find a product that I'm looking for. So keep subscribing, and we'll see you next time.